Okay, we are doing our rainbow sea turtle today. And remember, you can switch these colors out for anything that you want. These are just what I decided to use in mine. So there's a ton of ways that you can go with this. We're gonna start with our background and your big brush again. I've got my outline traced on here. Gonna get myself another paper towel really quick. So for the background, I did some of this ocean breeze and a little bit of white. I kind of have my palettes mixed from some different projects. So you can do a little bit of white and the ocean breeze and start kind of adding. I did like diagonals for this background. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of white with that and just kind of streak that in. Again, not worrying if I go over the lines because that's gonna be that apple tart, that lime green anyways. And then can pick up some of the blue with it as well. But I kept my blue more towards the bottom and then my teal kind of more towards the top. So you can do it how you want. I just wanted it a little darker towards the base down here. But I'm basically switching between 3 colors. So I've got, I'll show you these real quick. I just had it, here we go. So I've got bright blue and I've got ocean breeze and then I've got white. So those are the 3 colors I'm using in my background. And there's no right or wrong as to how you mix these colors or do them. I just did a little brighter towards the top and then did more of the blue towards the bottom. I'm gonna get a little bit of white on here. And you just wanna have enough paint on your brush, just like always, that it glides easy for you. You should be able to move across your canvas quickly and easily. If you can't, then you need more paint in your brush. So this one's a little less stressful because you're not having to really avoid those lines too much. We can just kind of paint our blue over top that a bit because we have so many colors that are going to go on top. Got some dry paint on there. But I like the mixture. So see all these different colors that we've got in our background? It's kind of like the light hitting the water in all those different ways. The sun kind of shining through there. And this is why we do our outlines in Sharpie too. So you can see once it starts to dry, it doesn't cover up those lines. You can still see through. And I like the white streaks on top because it kind of looks like the sun rays shooting through the water where that turtle's swimming up. So now I'm gonna switch to my angled brush just because it's a little faster to fill in. And for my first coat on the turtle, I'm just going into my apple tart, any lime green color is fine, and I'm just going to start filling this in. And if you can do it fairly quickly, if there is any of that color underneath, it'll just pick a little bit of that up and pull it into your green. But just like we do in a lot of these, This is just our base coat. We'll be coming back and adding more colors to our turtle. But you'll start finding with painting, you can mix a whole bunch of colors and it kind of adds to the painting instead of them all just being one solid block. And I'm going all the way to my black lines, overlapping them. So I'm anxious to see what colors you guys decide to do for your turtle. You could always do a brown shell if you wanted, or different colors than what I chose for the rainbow part. I had fun doing it. I just started picking whatever color I found next to me and thought that would look pretty on there, and just tried it out. And just remember, anything you do, you can always go back and paint over top of it, so you can experiment and play with it and see what colors you like. You might find a really cool color combination that I didn't even think of. So I'm just using this angled brush just to kind of smooth out my lines here. And this back foot is going to be mostly covered up by all of our sea plant life down here, but we're going to go ahead and fill it in anyways. Got a little bit of dried paint on that one too. And then for the inside, I have my navy blue I'm gonna grab here. And then my bluegrass green. I love this. This is that bright tealy color. We'll get a little bit of that. And I'm just going to start filling in, kind of go over these lines. And again, this is all supposed to be kind of messy, so pull up your original picture that you have to kind of go off of, and you'll see it's just a whole bunch of colors mixed in here. And these lines don't have to be perfect or the same size at all. So I'm just outlining everywhere I did the black Sharpie line. And I'm just pushing down. So this is real easy. You can't push down too hard. Just kind of getting our shapes on there a little bit. And I came in, I'm not rinsing, I just came in with that bluegrass green color and just kind of started filling in. Again, real messy. I'm not necessarily even filling in the whole thing. It can pull in some of my navy a little bit because we want to come back and play with some of these other colors. So this is just kind of a base down, but this time it's okay to leave a little bit of that white background showing, because we're just going to bounce around and just start adding some other colors in there. That's what makes this one so fun. Kind of like mosaic or like stained glass, how it's all different colors mixed in there. And then I came in and added, still with that bluegrass, just kind of here and there, just some extra little lines and spots on our turtle. You know how sea turtles have all those spots on them. But it's fun because you can just dance around with your paint. And then we've got some seaweed that I use this color for. So we're gonna have some kind of come up here. We're gonna come kind of behind and just kind of pull this up. Really similar to how we did in our crab painting. And anything gets on top, you can just kind of blend it in. We'll come back to that. Just kind of pull that down there. So all this plant life, you can do whatever you want to with too. There's all kinds of fun shapes that we can add. So I have it a little thicker towards the bottom, and then lots of paint, and just kind of flicking it up at the end so that it kind of tapers just a little bit. And if your background's still wet, it'll blend a little bit, so we can come back to that after a while and add some lime green in there, or even more of the teal. So one of my other favorite colors that I did in this one, this is called Blue Harbor, but it's kind of like a periwinkle, any kind of blue you want to. This one's kind of like a purpley blue. And that was my other main accent color in here. So I'm gonna just grab some of this. I really loaded up on my brush again. And then real quick, we're not blending, okay? So we're just kind of laying down lots of paint. See how I'm just kind of laying it down? I'm going towards like where my white areas are. But I'm not blending it in, right? I'm just kind of leaving those brush strokes wherever they land. And then I did some of these on the body of the turtle too. Kind of like a shadow underneath here. So we're just having lots of fun with lots of color in this painting. All right, so I think I like that. We're good there. And then my next color that I went to was hot pink. And this is just bright magenta, whatever hot pink you have is fine. And same thing, I'm just gonna start coming in first, just looking for any little open spots that need some color. And it's okay if they mix a little bit, like if it blends with some of your other color, that's all right. So if you look at my original, you can see where colors have mixed together a little bit. We don't want to just keep moving back and forth and turning it into one big blob of color. So it's different inside each little shape of the shell here. And then I did the same thing, just pick a little bit of that. This is a little bit less, but still just a few little random spots of color in our turtle here. Maybe a little bit down here. We're gonna have some grass and stuff down there that's gonna cover that up in hot pink, so I don't wanna add too much hot pink down there. So let's move on to yellow. We've got our bright yellow here. So I kind of use the yellow as my highlight. So anywhere I want it to be bright, can add some yellow streaks up here, kind of around the edge, maybe a little bit on that side. So I used the yellow kind of as my bright highlight colors, and then this purple color I use kind of as like on the underside, like my shadows. So it doesn't always have to be white and black when you're thinking like that. You can use color to do those things too. Oh, we forgot his little tail. I gotta add his tail on here. We'll just do this little shape here. And then pick up some yellow to go in there. It's almost like a little triangle. You see how that yellow kind of works as like a highlight? Kind of brightens that up, maybe like where the sun's hitting the turtle underneath. And then I'm going to get a little bit more and I'm going to start adding some on the inside of the shells too. And again, you decide what you like and how much you want to add. So I'm a little careful with this. I don't want to drag too hard because it'll mix with my other colors. So I'm just real light. See, I'm just almost like laying my brush down. Just quick little pulls. So while I've got this yellow in here in my brush, I didn't mean to get that much, but you can see, I'm just gonna come down here. We're just gonna make this messy little like coral reef down here. Just kind of wiggle our brush around all over the place. No right or wrong. This is just a messy little part of the painting that's going to look like our coral down below. And I'm even going to pick up some of the coral color to just mix that in. That's a little bit different than what I did in my original. But again, you don't always have to stay exactly the way I had it in the first one. You can change things. So we're just going to kind of, almost like we're scribbling that across the bottom. Let's do the same thing over here. I think I want a little bit more of the coral. I like that, the way that color pops. Now in my original, I used orange instead of coral, but I think I'm gonna switch and use orange on this one, or I mean coral on this one. I may change my mind. I may wanna come back and add orange, but I've got coral here, so I'm just gonna come in and add some little sections of that in. And what are your favorite colors? You can pick whatever your favorite colors are. And then we have these crazy little shapes. Let's see, I think I want to do, well, I'm gonna show you a few and then we're gonna switch. But these, another kind of coral reef down below, we're gonna start like a little oval here. Have some kind of go in different directions. And then they kind of come down at like an angle. So they'll look kind of funny at first. Maybe mix a little bit of yellow in there with that. They don't look like much yet until we add all the color to them. But you've got your shapes that you can do. So again, I did this in orange in the original one. So you can decide what colors you want to do. So I just did that because I already had that in my brush. We'll do another one, maybe a little guy over here. Kind of mix that in with my yellow. But the other part down here are these little pink, it's almost like pink grass kind of shooting up there. I'm gonna get a little bit more of my pink. And I've got my white, so I do pink and white for this. And we'll start over here. And this is okay for it to cover your turtle. So we're gonna start at the yellow and just kind of keep pulling up like that. And you can have it kind of cluster together at the bottom, but then I also have it go all the way down that coral reef. And just keep pulling that up a little bit. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of white. So you get that mixture of the pink and the white together. That looks pretty. Change the direction here, have some kind of coming up that way. Some's coming from behind here. And it's okay for it to cover your turtle. Your turtle's swimming behind all this stuff, so he's peeking out a little bit. Grab a little bit of white. You don't need much. And you want to do it while it's still wet, so I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between my pink and my white. And I'm not worried if it messes these up because I'm going to come back and pull those on top again. Let's add some more here. I don't want to cover too much of him, maybe just a little bit of his leg there. Grab a little bit of my white again. Back and forth, just kind of flicking back and forth just like that. So I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit. And I have a couple more colors that I added in up here. I did this like, it's called Orchid. It's kind of like a light lavender color. I'm running out of room here on my palette, and I don't need very much of it. And I'm just gonna add a little bit here and there, kind of messy. And it doesn't even have to be inside all of the areas. And then I did just a little bit of a, like a reddish color. I'm gonna use this one, it's called Watermelon Slice, but any kind of red is fine. And I'm just wiping off my brush. Just kind of lay those colors in there. And then I'm gonna jump back to my navy and just kind of pull these lines out. It just kind of redoes that shape just a little bit if you lose too much of it. And totally fine for it to pull into some of our other colors. It just kind of adds to the painting. Pick up a little bit of our white. Let's add some little white highlights in here. A little on the top of the head. So you can just kind of have fun with this. Don't worry too much about where it lands. It's not super specific here. Maybe just put a little bit of that over. I might come back with a little of my bluegrass color. If I feel like my colors are too separated, I may come back in and make them a little messier, maybe make them touch just a little bit more. I think I want some, what color do I want there? Maybe a little hot pink. some of this purple. So you're really just playing with it and deciding when you're happy with the way that it looks. Pull this grass up just a little bit more. Wouldn't it be neat if there really were sea turtles this color? So pretty. But that's the best part of painting, is we can make believe and we can make it whatever we want. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna do is come kind of make these shapes stand out a little bit more. So again, they kind of have like an oval on the top, and they're all different sizes and go different directions. Kind of look like little funnels. Where do I want to add another one? Maybe over here. So we've kind of got our funnel shape down there. Now we're going to use some of our white, and we're just going to come and kind of circle around that again, around that oval part at the top, so that shape stands out a little bit more. Grab a little bit of our hot pink. Maybe come in, oh, that grabbed some green. Well, we'll let that one be green. Then maybe some of the more coral and yellow. Maybe some of that bright reddish color I had there. I think I want one more kind of coming off the bottom here. I think I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to grab a little bit of my teal, and just real lightly kind of streak some of that in there just to make that stand out. Maybe a little bit of the watercolor with it too. I think that'll be pretty next to the coral. It's a pretty color. Some hot pink. So you can just play with it and make it whatever you want. So if you wanted to, you could come back to your grass up here, your seaweed, if you wanted to add like a little yellow or lime green in there. Just to make it stand out a little bit more, you could. I'm going to go back to my pink, just a little bit of my white, just to add. I like the white pulled in here. It makes it stand out a little bit more. Okay, so the last thing we have is just filling in our eye. You can get a smaller brush if you need to. gonna switch to my really skinny one, or you can use a Sharpie to put the smile on if you want to. Then I'm gonna flip my brush over like we do, grab a little bit of my white, and just do a little dot inside the eye there. And then we have these little bubbles kind of floating around at the top. So I'm just gonna take my white, and it's got a little bit of the blue in there with it, and just do these little swirls. Kind of randomly, wherever, around our turtle. That's about it. And then you can just decide if there's anywhere else you want to add anything. But I think I'm going to call my sea turtle done. Have fun with this. I can't wait to see what colors you pick. Bye.